Before we begin, if you're someone who enjoys discovering rare coins, unlocking forgotten stories, and maybe even finding hidden treasures in your own home, take a second and subscribe right now. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Now, let's talk about a coin that's far more than just metal, the 1967 South Africa 10 cents. Picture this. You're going through an old wooden box, the kind you haven't opened in decades. You find letters, maybe a pocket watch, a photograph with edges curled by time. And then, something small rolls under your fingers. A coin. It's got some wear, but the date is clear. 1967. South Africa. 10 cents. To most people, that wouldn't mean much. A coin from a distant place, barely worth anything at face value. But if you're watching this, you know better. You know every coin carries a story. And some coins, well, they carry more than that. They carry history, legacy, and sometimes value that can surprise even the most experienced collectors. Let's go back in time for a moment. The year is 1967. South Africa is in the midst of political transformation. Globally, the world is shifting. Satellites are going up, civil rights movements are rising, and currency systems around the world are being redefined. And in the middle of it all, the South African Mint releases a new 10-cent coin that it wasn't made to be special. It wasn't commemorative. It wasn't gold or silver. It was just a simple, everyday coin meant for circulation. But that's what makes it so fascinating. Because this ordinary little coin has become something quite extraordinary in the eyes of collectors. The coin itself is small, a little over 20 millimeters across, made of nickel. On one side, the national coat of arms or the name of the country in English or Afrikaans, depending on which version you hold. On the other side, a detailed image of the aloe plant, a symbol of natural resilience and healing. A simple design, but crafted with purpose. Now here's where things start to get interesting. The 1967 10 cents coin wasn't produced in huge numbers. Just 50,000 coins were struck. That's a tiny number, especially for a circulation coin. Most of those have disappeared over time, lost, worn down, damaged, or simply forgotten in drawers and jars, as so the few that remain today. They're survivors. They've made it through decades of handling, conflict, climate, and neglect. Every scratch tells a story. Every edge worn down is a measure of time itself. But rarity alone doesn't create value. Condition is everything. If your coin is scratched, faded, or has lost its original shine, it may still be worth something, but not much. A coin like this in average condition might sell for a few dollars, maybe even 10 or 20. But a coin that's been preserved, untouched by wear, kept in a drawer or in a mint pack for decades, that's where the story changes. Imagine finding one that still has its original luster. No scratches, no dullness. The edges are sharp, the details crisp. A coin like that, from such a low mintage year, becomes a different kind of treasure. In some markets, collectors have paid hundreds, even thousands, for top-graded examples. Why? Because it's not just about the coin. It's about completing a collection. It's about holding a piece of a country's economic and political story. And for many collectors, especially those who lived through the 60s, it's a personal connection to their own past. Coins aren't just metal discs. They're markers of time. They capture the design sensibilities of a nation. They show what was valued, what was emphasized, what was commemorated. And when it comes to this particular coin, what makes it so alluring is that it wasn't meant to be rare, but became rare through the erosion of time and history. Now I want you to think about something. How many times have we handled coins without a second thought? Bought a soda, filled a parking meter, given change to a child? How many of those coins, had we kept them, would now be worth far more than their face value? And that brings us to the question you've been waiting for. What is the 1967 South Africa 10 cents coin worth today? You may have seen a few coins sell here and there for a handful of dollars. Maybe 20, maybe 50. Some collectors with patience and timing have sold brilliant uncirculated examples for hundreds. But rare versions, pristine, error-marked, or those tied to unique provenance, have gone for much more. Now imagine a collector walks in with one. Not just any coin, but a perfect example. Stored away since the day it was minted. Never touched. Still glowing with its original shine. He places it down. The auctioneer lifts his hammer, and the room goes silent. Bidding begins. Numbers fly. The price climbs. And in a stunning twist, a buyer from overseas makes an offer that silences the room. $0.5 million. That's right. $5 million. For one coin. A coin once worth just 10 cents. But age, rarity, condition, and desire turned it into something far greater. Now before you run off to cash in your coin jar, let me say this. Not every 1967 10-cent coin is worth millions. In fact, most aren't. But the potential is real. And that's what makes collecting so thrilling. That possibility. That moment when something ordinary reveals itself to be extraordinary. The next time you find an old coin, whether it's from your childhood, a family member's collection, or a flea market find, don't brush it off. Look closely. Ask questions. Because you never know. You just might be holding a hidden fortune in the palm of your hand.